Hello and welcome back to another deck tech video. I guess I'll just get right into it. I was in the one of the Facebook groups for Valakut, and I've been seeing a lot of changes going around, a lot of includes and decks that people are looking out for, and I thought there were some pretty good points. But the star of this deck tech or this new update is definitely Once Upon a Time. I've been testing this in paper, and it's been overperforming. In my personal opinion, it's been doing super good. Every time it's been in my opening hand, I've just been super pumped, and a lot of the time I did not mind drawing it later on in the game. So for this next set of videos, until my next deck tech, I'm definitely going to be running 4 of. I'll talk about the main board changes first, and then I'll move to the sideboard. Other main board changes, we are up to 26 lands now, up from 25. I added in a Bloodstained Mire. I've removed both forests from the 75. There are just no more basic forests in the deck. And I also took out a bolt. I took out a lot of interaction for Once Upon a Time and the additional land. So I took out both forests. I replaced one of them with a Bloodstained Mire and the second one with a Cinderglade. And the 26th land, the real include here, is Castle Garenbrig. It basically functions as another ramp spell. It allows in my paper testing, it's allowed me to cast Titans and Woodfall Primuses a turn ahead of schedule, and 90% of the time it does enter the battlefield untapped because of all my fetch lands, and of course they get dual lands, and then I've got a forest, and then Castle Garenbrig enters the battlefield untapped. But sometimes, a lot of the time when it has entered the battlefield tapped, it didn't really ruin my game plan, or in the limited paper testing I've done so far, I've not yet lost a game for Castle Garenbrig coming in untapped, whereas I have lost games, or coming in tapped, whereas I have lost games for Valakut the Molten Pinnacle coming in tapped. But I mean, this card's been in the deck since forever, and I only just started testing Castle Garenbrig, so I'm sure one day it's going to get me. So yes, Once Upon a Time. What a good card. I mean, before the card came out, statistical analyses were done on Once Upon a Time in Amulet Titan, in Scapeshift, in Breach Titan, in Tron, and I think that a lot of those benefited from having Once Upon a Time, but our deck definitely benefits. It has increased dramatically the number of keepable hands. The fact that it is free, as in the opener, the fact that it is a free card, a free spell, has fixed so many issues that I've had. And later on in the game, it can get a Simian Spirit Guide, it can get a Sakura Tribe Elder. Like, it's just always, so far it has mostly always been exactly what I needed it to be. If I keep a risky one-lander that has a Once Upon a Time in it, it's turned into my second land. If I kept a land heavy hand or a land ramp heavy hand and needed this to be a Titan, that's a little bit more of a statistical stretch, but it has gotten me there a couple of times. I've kept this with land heavy hands, and it was able to turn into a Sakura Tribe Elder or a Simian Spirit Guide, which was ramp. So definitely going to be testing 4 of in the main. Cut much interaction. I've got 2 bolts still, but I cut Sweltering Suns and Anger of the Gods and my other 2 bolts for more lands and for Once Upon a Time, which I think lends great consistency. So we're basically cutting interaction for consistency, which for now is a trade I'm willing to make. So that's it for the main board changes. Once Upon a Time is definitely looking to shine in this upcoming format. Um, Wizards announced that they're going to be having, I guess, an emergency banning announcement, I suppose, or they're changing the date of the next ban announcement to the 21st of this month, I guess, in 10 days. I don't remember. I don't have it directly in front of me, but there's a lot of talk. Many people are thinking they're going to be banning Field of the Dead in Standard. I don't play Standard. I've heard of the deck, Golos, I suppose, but I guess it doesn't really concern me. But other people think, I've heard other whispers that there might be an Urza banning, Urza Lord High Artificer in Modern, which, in my opinion, would honestly be kind of sad. I think that card has changed the game of Modern and made artifact decks really good and competitive after KCI. I don't think that they're unfair or oppressive, but the response to them in the groups and in many players' sideboards that play this archetype, be it Breach or Scapeshift, have definitely had to respond to it with the list that I saw that really got my interest. I think it got third in a Modern Challenge online. It ran 4 of Collector Oof, 4 of Damping Sphere, 4 of Thragtusk, and like 2 of Veil of Summer and like a Reclamation Sage, I think. That was definitely an interesting sideboard plan. I like the simplicity of sideboard plans that are just all 4 ofs. But it still seemed a little too extreme for me, so this is my new sideboard. Force of Vigor has definitely not been as good as I had hoped it would be. But I'm leaving one in there. Being able to search out an answer in the form of Reclamation Sage or Collector Oof is definitely better, or it works better with Summoner's Pact. So to be quite honest, I couldn't afford 4 Collector Oofs, so I've only got 2. That's as many as I could buy for now. I'll probably add more to my collection later on, but I have 2. I think this is a good number on its own. Force of Vigor, as a one of that I can't search out, I don't know. This might become another Reclamation Sage, but the fact that it's free and that we are now very, very cold to Blood Moon, now that we do not own any, now that we do not run any forests in the main or in the side. I had a friend of mine suggest that maybe I run 1 forest in the sideboard, put an Obstinate Baloth in the main, and just have a forest in the sideboard, but that seems a little too weird. I don't like having basic lands in the sideboard in case of Blood Moon. And Blood Moon isn't all that common. I think I have yet to play against one online, although at my LGS there are a number of Blood Moons in the room, so in paper I guess it's still a thing, and I guess it's still something to think about online, but and that's why it gets 1 Force of Vigor, and the fact that it's a free spell, quote unquote, and in most circumstances it is the only force that doesn't -1 you. I'm keeping it in the sideboard. But the new additions are Damping Sphere, Collector Oofs, Thragtusks, just to make the game plan a little more consistent against certain matchups. Burn, I already feel favored, but only slightly favored. A lot of my Burn matchups are dangerously close. The ones that I've lost, I barely lost. And so upping the life game plan from 2 Baloths to 3 Baloths and a Thragtusk I think is good. I like Baloth more than I like Thragtusk because it also offers protection against black, discard, Rack, Liliana, stuff like that. I had a spicy win. I think I recorded that one. I think it's one of my previous videos, but I had a spicy win against Restore Balance because they made me discard all of my Baloths, and I had 8 power in play on turn 2, and they just couldn't beat that. So I thought that was pretty cool. The fact that Thragtusk leaves a body behind is pretty cool, but in my opinion, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I've seen fewer Obstinate Baloths and more Thragtusks in sideboards, but just my personal experience with Obstinate Baloth. Maybe I'm wrong, but my personal experience makes me prefer Obstinate Baloth to Thragtusk. Actually, let me make this a little bit bigger since we're talking about sideboard now. So yeah, for now, it's all about Obstinate Baloth, but I am testing a Thragtusk, and you know, if Thragtusk performs better than Obstinate Baloth in matches, I'll change this ratio out. But this is what it looks like so far. Veil of Summer is just such a good card. It's a 1-drop cryptic command in green. I don't think this card needs much explanation. Every time I've resolved this card against a blue or a black deck, I can't say that I've won every single game where I've resolved this, but I've definitely turned the tides. It's turned the tides of many games against counterspells and or discard magic. Grafdigger's Cage. We cut the Relic of Progenitus. For all of these additions, we had to cut some graveyard hate. Dredge is still out there. I guess Storm is still a deck that can happen. And graveyard decks it's good to have graveyard protection and not to go down to 0. And I think that in the strategies that we're trying to attack, Grafdigger's Cage is better than Relic of Progenitus. Relic of Progenitus, of course, turns off delve strategies, and it can attack some of the others as a one-time attack. But then it's gone. Grafdigger's Cage sits there and is... it's better against decks like Storm and decks like Dredge, but it's weaker for other reasons, but that's just the trade-off that we're making. So we cut that and we put in... So we cut Relic of Progenitus and kept the one Grafdigger's Cage, and we'll just have to live with that. Damping Sphere, I don't know if Urza is going to be banned, but right now I'm seeing a lot of people run 4 of Damping Spheres, 4 of Collector Oofs. Artifact decks have definitely taken right off, especially with Emry, Lurker of the Lock, I believe, just providing so much value. I've seen a lot of Grinding Station combo decks that just play a million artifacts in a turn and then mill you out with their untapped triggers. So there's that. If it gets banned at the end of this month, if Urza gets banned and that effectively kills the artifact combo decks, then we'll adjust the sideboard accordingly. I don't think that it's oppressive. Personally, I don't think it's oppressive enough. What do I know? To warrant a ban of Urza. I think Urza is a cool card. Maybe a touch overpowered, but not Hogak levels of speed. And it makes, in my opinion, for some pretty smart decks. I would have liked to have piloted... If it does get banned, I would have liked to have piloted an Urza deck. And if it doesn't get banned, I guess it's on the watch list. That and Mox Opal have definitely enabled a lot of super cool strategies. I don't think broken, but other people do, so that's the prediction. So this is the package for those, and of course Reclamation Sage and Force of Vigor will do work in... this is basically the package for anytime we see Urza. Engineered Explosives, I mean, Bogle's little 1-drops. The fact that we don't have any Anger of the Gods in the side anymore or in the main means we do still need a way to get rid of a field of little creatures or little permanents even. And so that's what that's for. Against little creatures, we're going to just hope that Thragtusk and Obstinate Baloth get there, and Lightning Bolts if they're combo creatures. That's what I'm most afraid of. There is a player in my LGS who plays Vizier Druid combo, and statistics speaking, I don't know how we are against that deck. Maybe it's even, but It's always a nail biter, and they always beat me by like half a turn on average. It's crazy. I just can't beat this deck. And even with all of the interaction, the 4 bolts, the Sweltering Suns, and an Anger of the Gods, I used to have an Abrade in the side and Engineered Explosives. I bring all that in, and they still just beat me with like the turn right before I go off. I don't know what it is. Maybe that's just a matchup I should give up on. Cut all of this, or cutting the bolts and the other interaction from the main and the side. Have Engineered Explosives, and just concede that that's now a bad matchup. Who knows? But this, I guess, would have been another collector oof if I could afford it. But I can't. But I think that this is a little bit more of a balanced sideboard. Anyways, those are my thoughts on the new sideboard and the new build. Hoping to get good results out of Once Upon a Time online to show you guys. I've had good results with Once Upon a Time on paper. And I've had good results every time I've drawn Castle Garenbrig. And having 26 lands and Once Upon a Time just makes me have to mulligan less hands. I can keep land heavy hands. I can keep land and ramp heavy hands. I find I'm better at drawing into Summoner's Pact or Primeval Titan than I am at drawing into lands when I don't have them. So that's the video, and looking forward to playing some new matches for you. Thanks for watching.